Okay, so year 10. I asked you to look at the last, I asked you to look at the beginning scene of Act 2, and that was the moment when Macbeth sees the dagger before him. And we know that he's gone mad here. Okay, so I know I asked you to have that debate. Has Macbeth gone mad, or sort of what, or is he actually evil? Is this the moment that he embraces his evil? Now there's a debate, and you are allowed to have that debate. So in your essays, you will not get penalised if you have a debate. You can say, on one hand, we could argue that Macbeth's evil because when he holds on to the dagger, it could symbolise him taking hold of his evil. However, you could also debate that he's just simply gone mad because he's been so pressured by his wife that now he feels so forced into killing Duncan that he feels like he has to do it. So he's gone mad. That's fine. So if you're having that debate, that's okay. I am going to ask you to look at Act 2, Scene 2 today, and that starts on page 26. And we're just going to have a read through where Macbeth and Lady Macbeth are speaking after Macbeth has killed Duncan. And that's really important. So this is after Macbeth has killed Duncan. So, it says, enter Lady Macbeth. So, you will notice that actually Lady Macbeth does say that her plan is to give them drink. So the guards on Duncan's door, she's going to get them drunk. And she actually says, that which hath made them drunk hath made me bold. So Lady Macbeth has been drinking here, and again, it's going very much against the traditional feminine norms, that Lady Macbeth is saying that she has become bold. And look at that adjective, bold, meaning brave and strong and out there, and those are the exact opposites of what a woman should be at that time. So Lady Macbeth here is being very, very unfeminine, according to Shakespearean standards. So again, we've got that idea that Lady Macbeth is going against what she should be doing. What hath quenched them hath given me fire. So again, she's using that word fire. It connotes a passion. So it kind of shows her passionate need for power here. That's what she wants. She wants power. Then an owl shrieks. Hark, peace, it was the owl that shrieked the fatal bellman, which gives the sternest good night. He is about, the doors are open, and the surfeited grooms do mock their charge with snores. I have drugged their possets, that death and nature do contend about them, whether they live or die. So again, basically she's saying here that she's made them very, very drunk. She's sort of added alcohol to their drinks. And she is talking about whether they will live or they will die. So she is almost letting these two servants be what's called collateral damage, which in effect means that in order to get where you need to go, you don't mind who gets hurt. So she's happy for these servants to die. And now that's interesting because they're lower class. So again, Lady Macbeth doesn't really care about them. Macbeth then comes in with 2 bloody daggers. So he's gone, he's killed Duncan, and he's come out with the murder weapon. Is that a smart plan? There's the issue. Who's there? What ho? Lady Macbeth, alack, I am afraid they have awaked, and 'tis not done. The attempt and not the deed confounds us. Hark, I laid their daggers ready. He could not miss them. Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it. My husband. So basically she says that she would have killed Duncan, but he looked a bit too much like her dad, so she felt a little bit guilty, or like she would feel guilty if she had killed him. And she can't see that Macbeth has entered. She's wondering, almost here she's wondering how could he have messed it up. And let's see how he messed it up. I have done the deed. Didst thou not hear a noise? I heard the owl scream and the crickets cry. Did you not speak? When? Now? As I descended? I. Hark, Who lies in the second chamber? Donalbain. So they're worried here. They're very paranoid, and you can tell that from the fact that their lines have gotten a lot shorter. Now, before that, and this is what we always associate Shakespeare with, long poetic speech. The structure is completely changed here. They're talking in very, very short sentences, maybe even one-word sentences, and one-word answers. And that's really showing that they're getting quite nervous and quite paranoid here. So you need to start writing that down. This is a bit of a switch where they're nervous and they're paranoid. And they're worried about who's sleeping in the second chamber, and that's Donalbain, which is Duncan's youngest son. So Duncan has two sons. He has Malcolm and Donalbain. Malcolm would be the next king because he is the oldest son. It's almost like how the Queen has many sons, but Prince Charles is her oldest, so he will be the next king. Macbeth is looking down at his daggers when he said it's a sorry sight. He uses that word sorry, meaning quite pitiful, but he also might mean that maybe he regrets it. So you've got a bit of a double meaning there. So when you say something looks sorry for itself, it means quite pitiful and pathetic. So he looks at this sight and he's like, oh, this is, you know, horrendous and pitiful. But also it could be saying that he feels guilty here. A foolish thought to say a sorry sight, says Lady Macbeth. Well, that's interesting because she uses the adjective foolish. So once again, she's really downplaying Macbeth. She's undercutting him. She's trying to correct him. She's saying he's wrong, and that's interesting. Again, she doesn't seem to feel the same regret that Macbeth does. There's one did laugh in his sleep, and one cried murder. That they did wake each other, I stood and heard them, but they did say their prayers and addressed them again to sleep. Lady Macbeth, there are two lodged together. And Macbeth says, one cried, God bless us and amen. The other, as they had seen me with these hangman's hands, so executioner, so that's what a hangman is, an executioner. So he feels like he's executed Duncan. Listening their fear, I could not say amen when they did say God bless us. That's really interesting here. He's talking about how he couldn't say amen. So he couldn't talk about anything but he couldn't talk about anything religious. That's interesting because it could symbolise the fact that he's come away from God so much. Remember, he's just committed the sin of regicide, making sure you're using these key words. But if he's just committed the sin of regicide, then actually that means that he has really, really come away from God. And he's really, really said, he's in effect done something that will get him sent to hell. So the fact that he can't say amen is really interesting there. Lady Macbeth, consider it not so deeply. So again, she's saying don't think about it. She's trying to, it does show a lot of contrast between their characters. Macbeth seems to be the more guilty one here, which is shocking because you would think Lady Macbeth would be the more guilty one because she's meant to be this sort of shrinking violet, this feminine character, and she's not. Macbeth, but wherefore could not I pronounce amen? I had most need of blessing, and amen stuck in my throat. So again, he's worried here because he's come away from God. It could also show perhaps he can't say amen because he feels so guilty for going against God. Lady Macbeth, these deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad. Well, there's a bit of foreshadowing there, isn't there, about him going mad and them going mad if they keep thinking about what they've done. Macbeth, methought I heard a voice cry, sleep no more, Macbeth does murder sleep. The innocent sleep that knits up the ravelled sleeve of care, the death of each day's life, sore labour's bath. So he's saying here that actually he will never be able to sleep again because he killed Duncan in his sleep, which is interesting because you could kind of take that as almost like as almost linked to, do you remember when he says he didn't want to kill Duncan because he worries that if he kills the king and becomes king, then someone could kill him? He's saying here as well, it's almost like he's scared to sleep because that's how Duncan died. So he knows that, you know, these things, people will kill you in your sleep. And he also uses the adjective innocent, which really shows that Duncan was very vulnerable, and it kind of makes Macbeth seem quite cowardly to kill him in his sleep there. Balm of hurt minds, great nature's second course, chief nourisher in life's feast. So Macbeth is, he's talking again about sleep and how he's so worried he's not going to get anything, but it doesn't really make much sense. So that's where Lady Macbeth actually says, what do you mean? So Macbeth says, still it cried, sleep no more to all the house. Glamis hath murdered sleep, and therefore Cawdor shall sleep no more. Macbeth shall sleep no more. So he's going over and over again about how he will never be able to sleep. You know, Glamis, that's his first title. Cawdor, that's his second title, when he's just saying, you know, he's a nobleman and he's murdered and he's taken so much. Lady Macbeth says, who was it that thus cried? So who are you hearing? Whose voices are you hearing? And here we know Macbeth's hearing these voices in his head. Why, worthy Thane, you do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things. Go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hand. Why did you bring these daggers from the place? They must lie there. Go carry them and smear those sleepy grooms with blood. So this is where Macbeth's messed it up, hasn't he? He's taken the murder weapons. He's holding the bloody murder weapons. And Lady Macbeth is here again to take control of the situation. So you can see how their power has shifted. Pause it if you need to, write that down. But their power's really shifted here because she's basically saying, why have you brought the murder weapons with you? Be smart about this, Macbeth. So she's giving him instructions, which means that Lady Macbeth is really the one who's in power here. She's leading him through how to commit the perfect murder. And she does say, go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hands. The hands become really important, and you'll see it in the back of my classroom. You've seen it before. Unfortunately, behind me I just have baby photos of me. No display to show you, but I've got those big set of hands with the blood on it. This is where Macbeth sees the blood on his hands. Now the blood on the hands symbolises guilt. He feels guilty here, and she says no, it'll wash off really easily. So let's look at how that sort of changes as well. I'll go no more. I'm afraid to think what I have done. Look on it again, I dare not. So he says, I can't go back and put these daggers back. I can't do it. It's too much. I can't look at that again. So Lady Macbeth says, infirm of purpose. So basically she's saying here, you're weak. You don't have any purpose. You're weak. You're infirm. Give me the daggers. The sleeping and the dead are but as pictures. 'Tis the eye of childhood that fears the painted devil. So she's calling him childish here. She's saying only children would be frightened of the dead because they can't do anything to you. So why are you frightened of them? So again, 'tis the eye of childhood that fears the painted devil. That metaphor there, the eye of childhood, he's looking at things like he's a child. So she's emasculating him again, making him appear weak. If he do bleed, I'll gild the faces of the grooms withal, for it must seem their guilt. So we need to smear the servants in his blood to frame them. So it looks like they killed him, not us. It looks like they got drunk, killed him, and we're fine. There's a knock within though. And Macbeth says, whence is that knocking? How is it with me? When every noise appalls me. So he's scared. All the noises are making him worried. What hands are here? Ha, they pluck out mine eyes. So again, that metaphor. He's so disgusted by what his hands look like. He's talking about how his hands almost are plucking out his eyes. They're disgusting him so much that he feels like he just can't look. As if his eyes were being pulled out of their sockets. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash this blood clean from my hand? Now, Neptune is the god of the sea, the Roman god of the sea, and Neptune is basically, that means that he's saying that there's not enough water in the world to make his hands clean again. So he's talking there in exaggeration or hyperbole. And that's interesting because it shows that he is very, he's so disgusted by what he's seen that he doesn't feel like his hands will ever be clean. And that's where he starts thinking that they'll never ever get clean ever again. No, this is my hand will rather the multitudinous seas in Carnadine, making the green one red. So he's talking about he's talking about the fact that he you know, his hands are permanently stained red. Enter Lady Macbeth. My hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. So she's gone to Duncan's bedroom. She has smeared the blood with her hands all over the men. And she's come back and she said, look, I've got bloody hands now, but I would be ashamed if I wore a heart as white as yours. Meaning that she's saying that his heart is too innocent, because that's what white connotes, doesn't it? It connotes innocence. And purity, and she's saying he's too innocent, he's too pure. Now those are normally two very good things, but we can see here where Lady Macbeth has a really warped sense of morality or conscience, that she doesn't know the difference between right and wrong because she thinks that being innocent is bad. There's a knock within. I hear a knocking at the south entry. Retire we to our chamber. So she's making the plans again, isn't she? She's saying we need to do this, we need to go to bed. A little water clears us of this deed, so we'll wash our hands and no one will ever know. How easy it is then. Your constancy hath left you unattended. So again, she says it'll be easy. Don't worry, it'll be easy. Knock within. Hark, more knocking. Get on your nightgown, lest occasion call us and show us to be watchers. Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. So stop thinking about it. Let's move on. Lady Macbeth having the power here, taking control. Macbeth, to know my deed, 'twere best not know myself. Knock within. Wake Duncan with thy knocking, I would thou couldst. So I wish you could wake up Duncan by knocking that loudly. So he's going back on it. He feels guilty. Whereas Lady Macbeth is saying, I want you to forget about this. Okay, so we've read through that. And I want you to make sure that you've paused at the different places you need to pause at, and you've actually written down some notes on that, because you will get asked to answer some of these questions.